And that Bosworth. You know what? I think the words I like to use to describe myself are um, eternally optimistic, sometimes inappropriately so. On my epitaph will be the words, God gave her courage and she used it. Being a giver, being somebody who is available for others, and I get a lot of pleasure out of being that role, giving. We got awareness that we were going to go to an orphanage. And again, the orphanage has, I think it was 9 or 10 orphans that actually live there. And one of the kids that comes, they think he can't hear. And so you take sound is through vibration. So you take a tuning fork which sends vibration, and you come up to him, and we're trying to tell the grandparents that we're worried about his hearing. And of course, they're quite defensive. They want to make sure that they're doing everything they can and know he can hear and he can say a couple of words, and which he very well probably can. It was really interesting. You put the vibration on the top of his head, and he gets this smile. And then, I tried to just make sure it wasn't just the attention he's getting, and so you don't do the vibration and you just pretend you do the vibration, set it on top of his head, and he doesn't smile. But then 3 more times you do the vibration and this smile comes on his face. And that means that the nerve that conducts the hearing actually works. But there is something wrong with the way the sound is getting to that nerve that isn't right. And you look at him and say, I can fix your worms. But you live in this just this zone of silence. I kept wanting to say to that little boy was that you are so smart. That the way you learn is not about just words. 2 days later, we come back to this place, and again, all these people are hanging out and waiting, and you can see this parents holding this, I think he was probably a 5 or 6-year-old boy. And you walk up to the boy, and you can just see that he is not well. He is very ill. There's a sense of, after seeing hundreds of patients, thousands of patients, you can say, you're in trouble. You touch his skin, and he's really hot. And then you can see it's like his skin was boiled. Lots of little superficial spreading infections that were on the forearms of both sides and on his legs. And you interview through the translator that it started only a day or so ago, like 24 to 36 hours ago was his first spot, and it had spread through major patches of his arms. And you go to touch it, he's very tender, and you can just see that it's one of these strep infections that's probably a flesh-eating or very easily superficial spreading infection. But because it's gone so long out of treatment, he's toxic. There's infection in his blood pressure's low, he's able to communicate, but he's just very ill. And so we actually did something that I didn't get a chance to do in other places, which we said a prayer. And I was really impressed with how much the community all could see this kid was in dangerous trouble, and how much praying got everybody's attention. And then we go to say, okay, we need to get this kid to a hospital. I know it's really emotional when you see your own kid that's sick. But we needed to give the kid 2 shots of an antibiotic so that he could have those antibiotics working between now and the time we could get him to the hospital. And so we go to give the kid a shot, and the father he was physically strong enough to hold the kid, but emotionally he caved. And so he was supposed to hold the kid's leg, couldn't hold it, the kid moved, blood goes everywhere. And of course, I think of protecting everybody by covering up a needle that's just been in another person. And there's blood everywhere because he moved while we were trying to give the shot. And the father just lost it. He howled and screamed and was just wailing. because his kid was hurting. And to watch him suffer. And then to watch the trickle effect of what happened to my team. Because a bunch of parents just exited stage left. They couldn't watch it, they couldn't see it, they couldn't imagine how they would have coped with, your kid's about to die. If we don't get him to the hospital, he's gonna die. And now I'm asking you to hold his leg still while I give him a shot, and he just couldn't do it. And you know, you lose something in translation. I didn't predict that he wouldn't be able to hold the kid's leg. But now you got a wailing father, and you got a kid that's just freaking out because his dad's freaking out. And oh my God, you got to get him the antibiotics because this is life-threatening here. And just the sound of what that dad did in the panic of it all, I can still hear him just hollering and knowing that he couldn't cope. He was at his wit's end. That was tough.
Where are your meds? Okay, this, I need the worming meds.
So the two little boys that we had sitting on the end of the bench, where did they go?
When you look at the most joyous parts of this process, I think it is where you watch one of your team members see this vacuum of need, whether it was a skill they knew or did not know, but you see them realize that we need someone to do this, and then they take, you know, they embrace their fear, they have the courage to try this, and they blossom.
Take his blood pressure just to make sure, but I think it'll be fine.
Why would you want to go to Haiti? I think there's not a better place on earth to teach you how much importance should be put on understanding who you are as a human, what you are, what your purpose is for being here, how important it is to have a foundation in whatever faith it is that you choose, and that money couldn't buy any of that.
Bien, 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 bien.